I have come here to chew bubblegum and review movies. And I'm all out of bubblegum. It's that time. They Live. These steel books from Shout Factory are really cool. The transfer on this is great. It's best it's ever looked for me by far. Oh man, this is such a silly movie. Like this, when you watch this, this just has cult film written all over it. It's weird because it does have serious subject matter and like almost a serious tone a lot of the times, but it's so goofy too. And I think a lot of that has to do with Roddy Piper, of course, but other things as well. But we'll get into that. All right, so first off, Meg Foster did not age well. That woman, oh my good God, she in the last 30 years, wow. The whole idea that like we're being controlled, this movie basically reminds me of The Matrix. I mean, you've got people wearing cool shades, being able to see what's really happening, and trying to free all of the slaves from, you know, the fake world that's been built around them. You have really long fight scenes and shootouts forever. So I was watching it this time. It's the first time I've ever noticed that it's like The Matrix. I think now that I've noticed that, it's pretty obvious, and I'm like kind of like, well, duh. But because the stories are different, I guess, I just never connected the two. But just watching it this time, I was like, oh yeah. And being someone who grew up poor, and I'm not poor now per se, I definitely am more in like the middle class at this point, but I've struggled with finances my whole life, and it always seemed like everyone else could get ahead, and that like these actors that live these incredible lives, and politicians who seem to make all the laws, and the police force, and all these little things that here and there, you just never feel like you can get ahead. And I love this scene where he puts on the glasses and he sees the world for how it is, and he laughs to himself, and he's like, it figures it would be something like this. And that just talks to me. That talks to how I would react to it, looking around like, I fucking knew it. I knew it. I knew that it wasn't fair because I put in just as much work in this and that, and these motherfuckers are getting ahead and these aren't. It never seems fair. So I like that this is kind of playing off of that we're the worker bees, and that we're here to, you know, do what they need to us to do, and also to kind of, you know, screw up the planet to get it more like their atmosphere. I love the concept of it. I know I saw in an interview with John Carpenter that he hates when people are, you know, putting these hidden messages in their films, and you know, they're pretentious and this and that, and it's like, you know, social commentaries, and films should just be about entertainment and this and that. It's like, this is a pretty heavy social commentary here, man. Political, the whole works. So I don't know, but it's a fun play on it too. But moving on, we get, you know, some alums here, of course, as usual. George Buck Flower playing a homeless man who then reforms to become rich and you know, with it. And Keith David coming back from The Thing, and the part was written specifically for him. And as I said in the last review, this is the long-standing career between John Carpenter and Peter Jason. And this is one of his biggest roles, if not his biggest role in a Carpenter movie. And I really like him in this. And I like that, you know, Roddy's character, Nada, he doesn't even have a name in the movie, he is Mr. Optimistic. He is, you know, he believes in the American dream. He believes in everything. He's like, no matter what's getting him down, he's just like, you know, I can get through this. I know that if I work hard enough, I can get through it. And when he puts on his glasses and he sees, and he's like, that just breaks everything down in him. Like, motherfucker. Like, I played by the rules. I was Mr. Optimism. and the game was rigged against me, I could never succeed, now I'm pissed. And that's why I love that he immediately goes straight to the shooting. Like, he immediately just grabs whatever's around him, kills the cops. Like, he does not hesitate for a second. As soon as he puts on the glasses, he's stunned for a minute. It takes a minute to bring it down. But as soon as he kind of breaks out of that spell, calls that fucking chick, formaldehyde face. Real fucking ugly. God, he is such a goofball in this movie. Some of his lines are so cringy. It's hard to watch at times, but it's so funny and awesome that it just doesn't matter. Like, as I said, there's this weird blend of like serious story subject matter and a goofy tone on top of it, and most of that having to do with him. But his lines, and there's a lot of blatant disregard for logic throughout this film. And we'll get into some of that, but one of the scenes is just when he gets the binocular from the kids and he's watching what they're doing across the street. And when they're in like binocular mode, they're not even that much closer. Like, it's literally across the street in front of him, 20 feet ahead, and he's just sitting there like out in the open where anyone would see him, especially the guys that he's spying on. He's like not being sly about it in the slightest. And that's kind of goes throughout this film, that they're not trying to be in hiding at all. Like, he's blasting cops in the street, then they're coming down the street later to go to that little meeting, and they just have their guns out and their glasses on, just walking down the middle of the street. And it's like, shouldn't you be a little more inconspicuous? Like, you wearing sunglasses at night. I mean, I know this is the 80s and that was a popular song. I don't know about in 87. I don't know what time that song came out. It doesn't matter, but that does not apply to anything. But having your fucking pistols out and up while walking down the street, I think is going to garnish you a little attention more than you need. So, as I said, there's just so much blatant disregard. And the big one is at the end. I'll save that for the end because that's my biggest, you're joking me. And the same thing, like when he looks, like he's looking through the binoculars, and then he just looks up and there's a helicopter there. Like, you didn't hear the helicopter coming? Have you ever been around a helicopter? You can hear it for literally 2 minutes before it gets to you. Like, you hear a helicopter for fucking ever before it's up on you. And the fact that he's just all silent, and then what is this, block his hearing? Does he have his ears and his eyes? So yeah, there's so many things that are just okay, I guess, why not? It's a movie. What I was noticing on this watch too was that the signal works for the aliens as well, because the businessman stops to buy the paper and he's sitting there and he's reading it. I mean, clearly if it just said marry and reproduce or obey or, respect authority or whatever, why would he buy the paper? He wouldn't sit there. He wouldn't bring it back to his car. He's not just going through the motions. There's no one around. There's no one in the car with him. So they clearly can. But then at the end of the movie, when the signal goes out and the people are on the news channels or the guy's fucking the girl or whatever, they can't seem to notice anything's different. Maybe there's just not enough people around him and the only thing that's different. But I feel like they'd be able to see on the walls that the artwork is different and whatnot. I know that. And that's just another thing, the fact that they see in black and white, I'm guessing that's just a budgetary thing. They didn't want to make the whole world in color. And those shots would have been more expensive, because if it was just black and white, they could paint dress everything super easily. I don't know personally. I don't know why it's like that. But that's my guess. And why they have to see in black and white is odd. Even with the contact lenses, they're in black and white, so that's odd. And I just want to straight out say this, and as I said, it's a silly movie throughout, so it doesn't really matter, but the mask work on those aliens is horrible. Just horrible. Sorry. Anyone who's a fan of the mask work, it's silly. It looks like a fucking Halloween mask that someone threw on with not very good makeup on the hands, and the makeup work in the movie for the aliens, for me, is dreadful. It's like teeth are just like plastic little things and they're moving up and down. It's like, how are they enunciating words when they have no lips? It's silly. I know he wanted to make them look like rotting corpses because it was the flip side of what. It doesn't matter. It's a silly prosthetic. This is a movie that I think would be a ton of fun if it was remade. I know people would shit all over it, and it's a cult classic. You can rarely make cult classics into remakes. People hate remakes and this and that. But I think it'd be a really fun film. I don't know who they would get for it. I know that this movie was originally going to be offered to Kurt Russell, and while watching this movie, I was trying to envision what this would have been like with Russell after their success with The Thing and Escape from New York and Elvis and whatnot. So I am super curious on how this movie, because a lot of the ad-libbed lines, like the chew bubble gum and all that, are Roddy Piper's, and the 5 minute and 20 second long fight scene with Keith David, the big fight scene that everyone remembers when they've seen this, that they redid on South Park. That wouldn't have been there. So, and it would have been cool to see Kurt Russell and Keith David in a movie together again as a team after The Thing. So, yeah, I wonder if the tone would have been more serious, or if it would have been more Jack Burton. Big Trouble in Little China is another one I didn't mention there. There was no success there. That's why it's a huge flop. Not for me, obviously, but financially. I'm curious on what the tone. Would he have been more Jack Burton? Would he have been more Snake Plissken? Because you could play it either way in this role. Roddy Piper is kind of combining the two. Yeah, I don't know. It would have been such a seriously different movie. When he kills the cops, no one hears gunfire. There's no screams in the streets. There's no one running away. You can just see people walking in the background, walking totally normal as gunfire is going off and cops are getting shot. Yeah, just as I said, there's so much blatant disregard for logic in this film. I love when he just climbs in the back of the trash can to look for the thing. That trash is so clean. It is just like torn up paper and boxes. Clearly he didn't want to get into like gross trash, but it's so obvious when you're paying attention. It's like literally all it is paper. That is the cleanest city block ever. And I never noticed this before, but when Keith David's character comes and, you know, he's like, he got him the week pay as best he could do, and he throws him the money, it lands perfectly in the box of glasses. I never noticed it before. It almost happens off screen. It just like nails the box like right at the edge of the screen. And I was like, he made that in there. I doubt that was on purpose. Like, I don't know if they did like 100 takes to get it right or not, but it's so off screen that you just think that it was a fluke and it happened like that. I didn't really read any trivia on this, but I'm curious on if that was planned or if it was a total coincidence. I'm guessing it was an accident and they kept it. And I love when they're in that fight. That fight has a lot of funny scenes, even though it's like 5 minutes. I enjoy the whole thing. I love when he like breaks the bottle and Roddy Piper laughs at it, and then he's like kneeing him in the balls like 3 times in a row. And then when he tries to hit, you know, Roddy Piper tries to hit Keith in the balls, he's like, "You dirty motherfucker!" Like that scene, that whole fight scene is great. It's a really, really fun fight scene. I don't know. I know a lot of people complain about it because of its length, but they also say it's just like repetitive, and I don't think so. There's so much, you know, variety within it that it keeps me laughing the entire time. And then also it ends with something that you never see in these kinds of movies, these action movies, where these action heroes always seem to just be invincible to any kind of bodily harm, but we get actual like bruising and swelling in their face. Like when they get to that hotel, they are fucked up. Their faces are swollen when he's like, "When you got some master plan, you let me know." Like his face is fucked. He looks like a chipmunk. It's, you know, storing nuts for the winter, and his cheeks and his eyes are all swollen. It's black and blue. Awesome shit, man. You never see that, and it just needs to happen more. We see Al Leong from you know, Lethal Weapon, and like that famous actor in the background for like 1 millisecond. Like I saw him just running past, and I was like, "Hey, that was Al Leong." I had to look it up on my phone and be like, "Yes, he is in this." But it's seriously, it's when they're running from the cops towards the end. You just see him for half a second. And to get to my last thing here, the eye roll of eye rolls. Like the fact that, the thing on what is it, channel 52, right? 54. Damn, I knew it was 54. Really, one single dish for the world. He says, Buck Flowers' character says that, like, it sends it out to the world. One dish, if malfunctions, lets their secret out. If a fucking, like, anything went into that thing, if anything happened, there's barely any guards. There's nothing protecting it. There's no, like, they have the ability to fly through space through, like, gravitational lenses or whatever, and they have the ability to teleport with a watch, and they have the ability to have invisible fucking flying machines that can only be seen when you wear the glasses, and they have all this insane technology, but they don't have like a force bubble like that could put around it, that one gunshot from a little handgun that you can fit in your sock could fucking blow it up and the whole master plan has been exposed. That's what I'm saying. Like, in addition to everything else I said, and including that, it is just like a fucking, we are not overthinking this. We don't care. Like, the audience, I hope by this point, is just along for the ride, and it's like, why not? And I get it. And I'm fucking totally, do not get me wrong, I love this movie. It is always fun to watch. I always have a great time. The performances are over the top and great and all sorts of fun, and I laugh and I have a great time. But when I am analyzing it like I am, for these reviews, I have to point out shit like that. One dish. Even if it was just for the state, which it should have been. It should have only been for the city, and then, exponentially, like, once that was exposed, then these people would have, grouped up and went out and tried to expose the rest. Whatever. But the fact that it's for the whole world, and even as I said, even if it was just for the city, like, that's it. It's just one small dish that can be taken out with a small handgun. Come on. Like, if you saw that in a real movie, I know this is a real movie, but you know what I mean, like a more serious type of shit, like The Matrix or something, if that's how it was, if that's how they exposed The Matrix, there was just one little box. Could you imagine what audiences today, the little whiny bitches we have online today, would be saying about that? Oh my God, thank God we didn't have those fucking crybabies back in 87. Holy fuck, or 88. Jesus Christ, good thing there was no internet back when they lived came out, because Jesus Christ, you see some of this shit people post today about the most inane shit. How could that have happened if this, and it's like, that is what you're paying attention to? Are you fucking with me? Like, how did TIE fighters drop bombs in space? Or the bombers in The Last Jedi. I'm ranting now, but yeah. Well, how'd they drop bombs? Like, fuck off. They did it in Empire Strikes Back. You didn't care then. I don't know. All right, I'm done bitching. Sorry. It's just, people today drive me fucking crazy. All right, guys. Fans, I'm guessing everyone loves this movie, right? Everybody fucking loves this movie. If you sat through this whole damn thing, I hope you did. All right. Until tomorrow, guys.